Hi, Neil Sean here on a very dark and misty London night. Hope you're all keeping well as ever, and thank you so much for joining me. This particular story has a bit of a Dickensian feel about it, simply because when you come to London, I don't know about you, but if you've ever been lucky enough to visit London, you will know that at every twist and corner, we have lots of our wonderful heritage. You know what it's like, you turn a street and you think, wow, did that person live here? Or in fact, did Charles Dickens dine in there? That's what it's like. Now, this particular story I wanted to share with you because part of our cultural heritage now looks under threat by the very people that allegedly are supposed to be looking out for our wonderful, beautiful city. Now, what it really is about is this. I'm not sure if you're aware, but still here in the very heart of London, we have gas lamps. That's right. Now, gas lamps really add to the character, don't they? I think if you go on those late night walking tours, the Victorian London, that sort of stuff, when you get near them, you may not even know they're gas lights, but they really do add to the atmosphere. Now, gaslights really came in by royal command as something of a celebration way back in the early 1800s. I think around about 1807, King George basically had a stream of gaslights lit in Pall Mall. And what happened was the early police forces realized that with these lights on the streets, lesser crime was committed. Naturally, there was a big rollout and it was a huge success. Now, what happened in the intervening years, of course, is electric came along and certain elements were removed. But as I say, there's still a sizable amount of gaslights in London, and they're looked after by a dedicated team of men and women. That's right. They're climbing up their ladders morning and night to make sure that they're lit for us, the pedestrians, the people living here, and of course our beautiful tourists that visit this wonderful city. But as I say, they're under threat, and the story really kicked off around about 5, 6 years ago now, simply because in 2018, a gentleman who has a shop, and had a shop, should I say, in Cecil Court in Leicester Square, where there were still gas lights, basically found a man looking at the gas lights up a ladder. When he inquired, he was told, "Oh, I'm from Westminster Council, and we're looking at the feasibility of turning these gas lights into, dare I say, LED lights, the dreaded LED." That's right. Now, basically, Westminster Council, along with our Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, feel like this is more a cost effective way of keeping the city well lit and, of course, looking after the planet. You get the picture. But there's so few of them left now, it's really not that much of a problem. Now, I was lucky enough to meet a couple of the gaslighters myself, and they really are a dedicated team. So much so, they're swapping pictures on their phones of certain patches that they look after or she looks after, etc. It's not about, a lifestyle, a money thing. It truly is about the fact that they love the job. But as I say, right now, their heritage, our cultural heritage, is under threat. So much so that this dedicated team recently wrote to our brand new king, King Charles III, to see if he could intervene, basically saying that his cultural heritage could be removed even without him knowing. Let me explain. With London's gas lamps, they really did create, well, a lot of magnificent imagination, particularly for celebrated writers like Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, who created possibly the world's best detective, Sherlock Holmes. You see pictures of Sherlock, don't you, under those gas lights with Dr. Watson, and you think, oh, yes, this is exactly how you would imagine Victorian London to be. Charles Dickens basically cited the fact that wandering the streets of these newly lit alleyways and back streets of London gave a lot of inspiration to the characters that he would see cast in shadowy doorways, that sort of thing. Said it also started the end of darkness and a lot of crime that was related with that. Very quickly, at the very start of the 1800s, there were soon hundreds of lamplighters dressed in smart suits, some with flat caps, some with toppers, depending on which area that you worked in. Now, sadly, today, there's just a team of 5 in their caps and waterproof jackets. A lot of people, I was told by Paul Doyle, are desperate for these jobs, who waited 2 decades before he could beat a field of applicants for that said job. Stuart Cameron, 52, trained 30 years ago with the lamplighter team and then serviced boilers for 28 years, praying for an opening. He added, "It's basically a dead man's shoes. You have to wait and wait. No one ever leaves. simply because it's the best job in the world. They often work longer than their prescribed hours, rotating their rounds and visiting lamps once a fortnight. Each has a different patch, and Aaron, for instance, is in the Royal Parks, where he loves to chat to tourists. Paul is based in Covent Garden, where he arrives at dawn, and Stuart is in the infamous Hyde Park. So if you're lucky enough to come to London and you want to look at some true history, do check out the lights that still work in the Pall Mall and many of the lights around Westminster near the Houses of Parliament. It is really history in motion, and it would be such a shame if they decided to go ahead with it. But as ever with councils and of course governments, they decide to do what they wish to do in the apparent sort of moving forward with progress. But wouldn't it be a shame if truly all the gas lights of London finally went out? King Charles, can you do something to save this? As ever, I'd love to know what you think to this particular story in the comments below. Would we be better off without gas lights? Is it all about saving the planet? If you were lucky enough to come to London, would you root them out and have a look? As ever, thank you so much for watching. Neil Sean in the very heart of a dark, misty, Dickensian style London.